Welcome once again to our ongoing YouTube video series on tutoring online from India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Sri Lanka to both Canada and the United States. My name is Christopher Neufeld of Neufeld Legal. And in this particular YouTube video, we're going to be discussing the aspect of how you have to time your tutoring. You're really going to be looking at if you're aiming for the United States and Canada as your go-to place for tutoring or just as a supplement, only a couple hours, because you're talking about the first couple hours in the morning that you're dealing with. And you got to be focused on that and prepared for that, because it's before you go to work, your regular work job, before you go to school, before you go to university in India, that you will be doing your tutoring. The fact is, you have, whether it's a 9.5 hour or 10.5 hour time difference that you're dealing with. Because why do I say 9.5 hour or 10.5 hour? Because in North America, for the most part, there's daylight savings time, which means that between the months of October, November, and March, you have a 1 hour time shift. So going back to timing and morning work, what you're looking at, and you got to be cognizant of this and deal with this and be one of your first clear things, are you capable of putting in those 2 hours before you start your normal day to do online tutoring from your home? Are you going to be sufficiently awake, sufficiently engaged to actually do the specific tutoring work? You could do administrative work later in the day, but the tutoring work would need to be done early on. So let's take a couple examples. So we're going to start off and we're going to look at in New York City and the East Coast. If you're in New York City at the East Coast, if you're going to be offering tutoring to a child or a student at 5 p.m. their time, you're talking about tutoring at 2:30 a.m. in the morning from India. So you got to be waking up, ready to go at 2:30 and starting at 5 o'clock. If you get a tutoring assignment that starts at 7 p.m. in New York City and Boston and Toronto and Montreal and Florida, you're looking at the working from, let's say, 4:30 to 5:30. Be cognizant of this, right? If it's daylight savings time, there's a slight shift. It sort of works better in some respects. You'll be working from 5 p.m. Well, you'll be working, their 5 p.m. over in New York will be your 3:30 a.m. in the morning. So remember that. You got to be ready, start to go, probably get up at 3, be online 3:30. Going from 3:30 to 5:30. Entirely possible, and you still have time to get the stuff done. Now, 7 p.m. slot, you're looking at 6:30 a.m. in India. So you're already starting to get pretty tight with respect to time. If we move to what's called Central Time, which is 1 hour difference, places like Chicago and Dallas, what would you be looking at? A 5 p.m. for the student is going to be 3:30 a.m. in India for yourself. Likewise, 7 p.m. in Chicago and Dallas is going to be 5:30 a.m. for yourself. So you got to be aware of these timelines. From would be the end of October, beginning of November through to the beginning of March. Once again, you have the shift. 5 p.m. becomes 4:30 a.m. India time. 7 p.m. becomes 6:30 a.m. India time. Now we look at Los Angeles. Los Angeles, if you're going to try to tutor in Los Angeles and still maintain going to university, going to school, going to a job, you want to make sure you're doing those assignments early enough in their time, right after school if at all possible, given the fact that they have themselves a 3 hour time difference from New York and the East Coast. So if it's 5 p.m. for your student, it's 5:30 a.m. in India. Similarly, if it's 7 p.m. in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Vancouver, it's 7:30 a.m. in India. And then it gets even worse when daylight savings time comes in, when you have 5 p.m. in Los Angeles to 6:30 a.m. in India, or 5 p.m. or 7 p.m. in Los Angeles versus 8:30 a.m. in India. So almost for your West Coast assignments, as they call them, you would want to try to get that done as early as possible right after school. So even 3 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock, their time, that's what you want to almost be suggesting, because that's the only way you're going to get the 1 or 2 hours at the beginning of the day. The further you get into the West Coast, the more difficult it's going to be to actually engage on a schedule that allows you to do your existing work. Now weekends, you're really sort of limited in a way. You'd only really suggest one weekend day, which would be their Saturday, presumably, and you could do that on what would end up being your Saturday night. So take, for example, if you were to do a 10 a.m. project with somebody on the East Coast, that'd be New York, Boston, Toronto, Atlanta, 10 a.m. would be 7:30 p.m. India time. If it's in Chicago, it'd be 8:30 p.m. Chicago time. And if it's in California on the West Coast, you're talking about 10:30 p.m. India time. These are all for 10 o'clock start times if you're going to be working with somebody on a touring basis on the weekend. So that's what you got to be cognizant of. You're probably not wanting to do it on a Sunday. A lot of people in North America are not really engaged Sunday mornings, Sunday afternoons, but then Sunday afternoons are going to take you into the middle of the night to start off your week. Not really the best aspect for yourself. The fact that these are the timings that you have to be dealing with respect to engaging people, students in the United States and Canada, to successfully undertake a tutoring business online. Because if you're not prepared to put in those early hours, it's probably not the right thing for you. If you are prepared to use this as a supplemental income source, and it could be a very lucrative source, you have to understand where your timing aspects are and take advantage of them. There are opportunities there. You have to make the time available, and you have to be understanding different time zones and how best to optimize them to your benefit, how you need to be marketing yourself given the time zones that you're talking about. I hope you found this YouTube video informative. Please like the YouTube video, subscribe to our channel, and we look forward to seeing you with further YouTube videos to help you engage in your business overseas to Canada and the United States. Thank you.